I'm an ER nurse, and after last night, I have proof that evil exists. Before I start the story, thank you all for listening in. It's been a little bit since I've recorded. I had my dog pass away, so I needed some time to myself to recover from grief. But thank you so much for listening in, and if you like the story, please like and subscribe. Last night, when this woman came into the ER of Riverside General, I didn't think it was anything out of the ordinary. People show up bloody and incoherent all the time, but this woman, Emma, was different. She was wearing a green military jacket, lining slashed to ribbons as if she'd attacked it with a kitchen knife. She'd fractured 3 ribs and gouged her arms raw. The damn thing was still on her, clinging like it had been sewn into her skin. I've been a nurse for 14 years. I've seen addicts rip out IVs and men twice my size foam at the mouth. But what Emma said shook me to the core. And for the first time in my life, I believed evil might exist. Blood bubbled from between her teeth, and in a gruff voice that didn't sound like it belonged to her, she said, "I'm scared. Wants to know if Kathy's okay. Tell me she's okay." I'm getting ahead of myself here. I haven't slept in over 24 hours, so you can understand roughly a year ago, I was working the graveyard shift. It was 3:15 in the morning, and the doors of the ER flew open. A family of 4 was rushed in, all of them with gunshot wounds. 2 of the 4 family members were already DOA. An old man in his late 70s and a woman in her 40s. The old man was from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. He had shot his whole family. One of the family members was still conscious, a man named Perry. We were trying to stop the bleeding when he gripped my arm and whispered, "Is Kathy okay? Tell me she's okay." Kathy was Perry's wife, and she was already gone. None of the family members lived. No one but me, Perry, the other medical professionals in the room that morning know that he asked me that. And Perry died 30 seconds after I lied and told him she was going to make it. So when Emma asked me the same question, yeah, it chilled me to the bone. How could she have known? How did she even know my name? I haven't been able to shake it since. So once we got Emma sedated and placed her in restraints, I went to the waiting room to let her boyfriend, Ryan, know that Emma was stable. All he asked me was, "Is the jacket off?" It was, and told him as much. We had put it in a hazardous waste bag, which is why it was so much weirder when I went back to her room and the jacket was on the chair next to her. Its sleeve brushed my arm as I stepped closer, sticking with dried blood. I couldn't imagine any of the hospital staff would put a bloodied jacket back in the room. It didn't make sense. That's when I noticed Emma's eyes were open, like she was staring into my soul. "Tell me what happened to Kathy, James." Her voice gruffed again. "Do you know about that?" I asked her. Her eyes closed. She fell back asleep. I moved through the halls asking anyone and everyone on staff who had put the jacket back in Emma's room, but no one seemed to know what I was talking about. It got to the point where I started getting strange looks. One of my colleagues asked if I was feeling okay. I wasn't. I'm still not. I went back to the room and the jacket was gone. So then I checked the storage room, and the jacket was back in the hazardous waste bag. I have no clue how it got there. I was afraid I was losing it. I was told to go home and get some rest. I didn't want to, I needed to figure out what the hell was going on, but I was basically forced to leave. I went back home. Had a couple drinks. I think I just needed to relax. I stayed up all night, and thoughts of Emma and Perry. I didn't understand how they were connected. It was proof of an afterlife. Seeing people die over and over, and now it felt like evidence that we didn't simply cease to exist. That maybe the people I loved, so when I lost, might not be gone forever. My mind infected. Which is why I decided to go to the house where Perry and his family were murdered. The house had sat vacant since the murders, which made it easy to slip in through the back. I used the butt of a flashlight and a rag to smash a small pane in the back door. When I first entered, I felt a shift. Even in the early morning light sneaking through the windows, it was dark. My chest got tight. I told myself it was because I knew what had happened in his home. I walked through the living room. Floorboards creaked every other step. I was climbing the stairs to the second level when suddenly I smelled something metallic. It made my stomach twist. It was the scent of blood flooding my nostrils. Then Perry stumbled through the foyer below, bleeding profusely. In an instant, he vanished, and the gunshots rang out. I sprinted up the stairs as quickly as I could, my hearing fuzzy. It felt like ice was rushing through my veins, and before I knew it, I had ducked inside a bedroom down the hallway. I'm not exactly sure how long I had been sitting in the darkened room when the closet door across from me slowly swung all the way open. It came to a stop when it bumped gently up against the wall. I could only see children's clothes hanging inside. A soft voice from inside the closet said, "Right." Then a child's pale arm protruded out from between the hanging clothes and waved me toward the closet. There was no freaking way I was going over there. The child whispered again. "We need to hide. Grandpa's acting weird." I was terrified, both by what he said, but also the thought of moving toward the closet. I came to this house for answers, though, so I went over to the closet. I stopped right in front of it. I couldn't see past the clothes. They prevented me from seeing anything beyond them. I could either leave or wonder forever what I would find out. So I parted the hanging fabrics and crawled inside. I didn't see the boy. I looked behind me, to my left, right. "Hello?" I said quietly. He wasn't there. The hair stood up all over my body. I took out my phone and turned on the flashlight, and the boy appeared out of thin air, covering the light with his hand. He hissed. There I sat face to face with a ghost. "When's my mom coming back? He said we would leave after dinner." His big eyes looked up at me. I realized he was scared. "Do you know a woman named Hannah?" I asked him. The look on his face shifted. His fear vanished, replaced by a strange recognition. "You know who I'm talking about, don't you?" He stayed silent. I could tell he knew something. "She's my wife." I can't tell you how badly I wanted to say something, and I think he was about to. Then we heard furious footsteps pounding up the stairs from below, and I snapped back to being scared. "Shh." He cut me off with a harsh whisper. He backed himself further into the closet, hiding as best he could. His bedroom door flung open and smacked into the wall. I could barely see out from behind the clothes, but I had a sliver of vantage point and caught sight of someone walking in. "Joshua!" An old man's voice called out. I heard a rifle being cocked. I couldn't see him anymore, but I could hear his footsteps. It felt like forever, but must have only been there for a few seconds when he moved back into my line of sight. He turned slowly toward the closet. Joshua, are you in there? He walked over to us, slowly. I could hear my heartbeat, thumping like a freight train. I looked to the little boy whose eyes were shut tight. I looked back into the room, and the old man was settled right in front of the closet. Something fell to the ground. It was dentures. The old man said something, but it was mumbled. He reached down, and his hand was covered in blistering sores. He snatched up his dentures and popped them back into his mouth because I could understand what he said next. Close your eyes. I looked over to the boy. He was gone. When I turned back, the old man was standing right in front of me. The hanging clothes slid aside on their own. The barrel of a rifle leveled at my face. It was a split second, but I swear he was wearing the same green jacket Emma had tried to slash off herself. Then just like that, he fired the gun. I saw the spark of the barrel and heard the crack of the chamber right before I closed my eyes tight. I felt something hot and sharp tear across my cheek. I was still screaming when I opened my eyes back up. The room was suddenly empty. The old man was gone. The silence was so complete it felt unreal. For a moment, I thought maybe it hadn't happened. Then I felt it. Warm trickle sliding down my face. I touched my cheek. My fingertips came away red. Blood. My blood. This was proof that something beyond our world existed, that the jacket has something to do with it. I left, and I didn't drive home. I went back to the ER. I walked to the halls to the storage room where I last saw the jacket, but the jacket was gone. The bag it was in, empty. It must have moved, I thought. It must have gone back to Emma's room. I walked in, and she was asleep. My eyes scanned the room for the jacket. It wasn't anywhere to be seen. Emma's eyes snapped open. Where am I? She said. The look in her eyes was different. She looked around the room, completely lost, innocent, and scared. Then all the lights in the ER went out. It was suddenly pitch black. The noise of panic began to swell into the room from outside. Then I smelled smoke. Cigar smoke. It was strong. So strong that I began coughing, choking on it. The red glow of a lit cigar appeared. Its embers shed just enough light for me to make out the face of the old man, where Emma had just been. The lights came back on, and it was Emma again. The innocent look in her eyes gone. It was like she was looking into my soul. Ryan has it, she said in a gruff voice. Then she said, I can help you talk to Hannah again. I didn't even say anything. I was too tempted. Would have to let her go. So here I am, sitting behind the steering wheel of my car in the ER parking lot. I don't know what to do next. Should I go inside and let Emma out? Should I go find Ryan? I don't know what to do. If you don't hear from me again, it means something awful has happened. And if that's the case, let the police know that James, the ER nurse from Riverside General, is probably dead or worse. Thank you so much for listening in on the story. It is written by excellent-bear-4753 on Reddit's No Sleep. I will also include the story in the link. And please give me a like and subscribe if you haven't. And thanks for listening in. Bye!